Hey guys, Dr. Ryan Simmons, industrial organizational psychologist. Today, what I'd like to talk about is take your time off. And what I mean by that is make sure that you're taking your vacation, but not just your vacation. Take your sick days. Take any day where you don't have to work because it's a national holiday. Take your personal time. Take your FMLA. Take everything that you need, including your parental leave. The work is always going to be there. If your work is already going to be there no matter what, you need to take time for you. I feel like in the culture that we're in, we have a hard time doing that. I know that I feel weird taking vacation, and that's not something I feel good about. That's not something any of us should feel good about. We should all be able to take the time off. It's there for a reason. What we can say definitively is that somewhere between 35 hours and 40 hours a week, our quality of work decreases. And it just gets exponentially worse as time goes on. So people who brag about working 50 to 60 hours a week, it doesn't make sense to work that much. And if you are working that, it means that usually you're taking somewhere between 10 to 30 hours where you're not really doing a great job. If quality of work decreases, why do we keep doing the 8-hour day? Of course, the 8-hour day was set during the Industrial Revolution. Now, you think that we'd update that. And there are tons of countries that have updated that. There are countries in Europe and in other places in the world that understand if you are working in a high capacity, if you are a knowledge worker, even more so, you need the time off. You can work 35 hours and do the work of someone who's been working 40 hours or more and probably do it better because you're focused, you're relaxed, you're able to get the work done and make it look good. It's not something you have to keep reworking, and rework is a big cost. So bringing up just vacation would make sense. Talking just about vacation, I can talk about all of the countries in Europe that will let you take whatever time off you need, or up to about 2 to 3 months of work off, which is fantastic. And that's why you're always seeing people from other countries at Disney World and Universal Studios in Orlando. And you're always seeing them go to Spain and Greece and all these places that are vacation spots because they have the time off. It's actually something that's built into their system that they understand because they do better work. They do better work when they come back. Now, I'm not just talking about vacation because there are so many other kinds of leave out there that we're not talking about. We're not talking about sick leave. And I'm very passionate about sick leave too, because if you come into work sick and then you make me sick, I am not going to thank you for it as my coworker. I am absolutely going to suggest you take time off. And if you can't take time off, at least try to work from home if you can. Now, that being said, I do have to acknowledge the fact that some people don't get vacations, and even more people don't get sick leave. Sick leave in this country, in the United States, is a very big issue because we're asking people, especially people who only do hourly work at a McDonald's or somewhere else, to take time off for being sick. We're telling them to go ahead and do that, but they don't get the time off. So really what we're doing is we're asking them to take a pay cut when they're already down. They're already down on the ground. We're just kicking them at this point. The fact that they're not going to get paid if they don't come into work. Now, that especially doesn't make sense when we're talking about food preparation. in some of those positions. Anything that deals with our health. So healthcare workers, if you're a nurse and you need to be there, hopefully you're not at a place where you're just a temp, because you will need that time off. And hopefully hospitals will understand that all across the country. But there are positions where you can't get sick leave. You're not going to get vacation. There are also places that don't give you personal time off. There are other places that it's hard to accrue the time to get FMLA. And that's an issue too. I think the biggest issue, besides the vacation and the sick leave, has to do with parental leave. So parental leave is also a huge issue, because we're not just talking about the person giving the baby, delivering the baby, because that's a big deal too, but we're also talking about the parent on the other side. And if you are a couple where you have one person with the baby and the other person has to go back to work, you're going to have some problems there. And it's just not a great system. We're working on old systems that don't really reflect the way we live our lives these days. So we really do need to talk about these items, because people are working to a point where they burn out. Now, I've talked to a lot of people over the years. Part of my background is doing coaching with leaders, and people who are in a leadership position luckily get a lot of time off. But there are a few I've spoken to that don't get a ton of time off, and they're ready to quit. I think that way with talent too. We got a lot of great talent out there, but if we keep pushing them and telling them not to take vacations, and maybe those aren't the words we use, but we're definitely saying it in one way, at least in our culture, where we don't want you to take vacation off because the rest of us are going to be here working and we can't afford to not have you there. I think that's ridiculous. If you cannot plan your business for an eventuality where you need to be out for a week, what happens if you break your leg? What happens if, for some reason, you're stranded on the other side of the country, which actually has happened to me. I've gone out for a trip and I was stuck in an airport for a while, and I didn't get back until day 2 when I was supposed to be back. It was bad news, and there was not a whole lot I could do about it. So what do we do about all of this? Well, if you're an employer, it's a little bit easier to talk about, I think, because at that point, you're a decision maker. What's not easy to talk about is that because you're the decision maker and because this is your business, you really want to make sure that we don't have money going out the door. I understand that. Small businesses have a lot harder time. If we're talking about a mid-sized to large business, it's almost a no-brainer to let people go ahead and have more time off. There are companies out there that let you have as much time off as you need to have. You tell them and work it out with your manager that you want to leave for a little bit, just for mental health, for vacation, for whatever, and they'll work it out with you. In fact, those companies that have those kinds of policies, they find that people take vacations less. So they're out of the company less than people who would get your standard 2 weeks or more of vacation time. So that's something to think about. We're actually not in a place where we have to worry about people not working or not coming into work. In fact, if people abuse those policies, we do have a lot of companies that have already drawn up statements of what happens next, consequences, basically, of what happens if you abuse the policy. Basically, you're fired. After a disciplinary action, you're fired. Let's do ourselves a big favor. Let's take our vacation. Take your sick days. Take your personal days. take whatever days you can get off. And if you can't get days off, I suggest that you try to find some time for you. That might not be going on a very expensive vacation. It might just be going out and go camping. It might be rent a hotel room, a nice hotel room for a couple of nights. Get away, go do something. Make that time your own. Because there's no reason that we need to be working as hard as we work in this country without the time off. We need time to recharge. And if you guys liked what you heard, please go ahead and subscribe and like this video. And if you have any comments or you have any experiences of what it's like to either not take vacation off or whatever, go ahead and put it down below and we will read those comments and get back to you. Again, I'm Dr. Ryan Simmons. Take care, guys.